Good morning. Lovely to be with all of you. Feels like fall out there, isn't it the best? Our cellist lighter this morning is Dave Dawson. Come on up, Dave. Our cellist lighting words come from Spall Sprecher. We light this chalice to honor the memory of those who have come before us, kindling the flames of wisdom in dark times, willing to challenge orthodoxy even at great personal risk, giving us a legacy of freedom and a love of truth, a legacy that warms our hearts and lights our paths.
Oh, I better go.
With the lighting of the chalice, I'd like to extend the invitation to all involved in RE, whether kids or adults, to make your way towards the doors of the Welcome Hall as you continue your service over yonder as we guide you in singing your song. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other one. One foot, and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other one. One foot, and lead with love.
Okay,
Let's take a deep breath together. And one more and let it out with a sigh. It is good to be together. Let us be present in this beloved community in gratitude for our lives and all that which makes our lives rich and good. And let us be together in community to offer support to all those who are facing challenges and difficulties or have sorrows in their lives. This morning we have several joys and sorrows to share. One among us is sharing that her dog died recently. Lindy was the dog's name. Another one among us is sharing the sorrow of the passing of Connie Buckley, who passed away last Saturday, and her memorial is scheduled for November 18th in the afternoon, so you can look for more information about that. We have a couple of folks among us, and I know more of you have this in our hearts, wishing for healing and good energy for Taylor Lewis, a beloved member of our congregation who's dealing with another round of treatment for cancer. So our hearts are with him, and if you know him, I'm sure he would love to hear from you and hear your good wishes directly. Another sorrow is a friend of the congregation who is also one of our altos in our choir. Susan is sharing with us that Vanitha Jadeep lost her brother very suddenly. And I think she's back in India with her family. Is that right? Yeah, Susan's nodding. We hold her in our hearts, and of course, her family as well. Another one among us is sharing their sorrow about a grandnephew who's going through some difficult times in that growing up process from childhood to adolescence. I think everybody here can relate. Another one among us wants us to know that they got 2 kittens for their birthday. Now that is the best. Oh, and that's a joy, by the way. Another joy that Marilyn's sharing with us is the installation of a new little free library on her front lawn to house books for kids and teens. So that's a delight. Another one among us is sharing a joy and a sorrow. Joy in finally having a new home for their family, and sorrow that the moving was incredibly difficult with being scammed in a variety of ways and creating difficulty as they settle into their new home. And we wish them well moving forward. We wish them our love and support. Thank you to all of you who lit a candle or filled out a card. And I want to acknowledge all the joys and sorrows in our hearts this morning that remain unspoken. Let's just take a moment of silence to let everything that we've heard sink in. Blessed be. I'm going to be talking about UU heritage, and we're singing some hymns this morning that are different aspects of UU heritage. Our first hymn, Gather the Spirit, is a beloved, familiar hymn written by a UU composer. For our prayer this morning, I want to bring you the words of Shelley Jackson Denham. She was a member of the First UU in Cincinnati, and wrote numerous of our beloved hymns and songs that are in the gray hymnal. She died in 2013 at the age of 63, and her legacy lives on in her hymns, and one of them being Blessed Spirit of My Life. Shelley wrote this hymn as a prayer to honor her and honor her beautiful words and allow spaciousness in our own feelings. I share with you the words of that hymn. Blessed Spirit of my life, give me strength through stress and strife. Help me live with dignity. Let me know serenity. Fill me with a vision. Clear my mind of fear and confusion. When my thoughts flow restlessly, let peace find a home in me. Spirit of great mystery, feel the still, small voice in me. Help me live my wordless creed as I comfort those in need. Fill me with compassion. Be the source of my intuition. Then, when life is done for me, let love be my legacy. Let us take a moment in silence to reflect on these words and the prayers in our own hearts. Blessed be.
Let's now rise in body or spirit and proclaim those words in song.
There was an old man who had a set of quarrelsome sons, always fighting with one another. At the end of his life, he summoned his sons around him to give them some parting advice. He ordered his servants to bring a bundle of sticks wrapped together. To his eldest son, he commanded, "Break it." The son strained and strained, but with all the efforts, he was unable to break that bundle. Each son, in his turn, tried, but none of them were successful. "Untie the bundle," said the father, "and each of you take a stick." When they had done so, he called out to them, "Now break." And each stick was easily broken. "You see my meaning," said the father. "Individually, you can easily be conquered, but together you are invincible. Union gives strength." This fable, and Aesop, the Greek slave, wrote it, is a familiar story, and similar tales can be found in various cultures throughout the world. We all pretty much accept the fact that we are better together. We are more powerful in a group, and the power of two or more can make us that unbreakable stick. When I considered why I come to UUSS worship services, I thought of this fable. I like to think I walk through those doors because I enjoy being in the presence of like-minded individuals. We can enjoy similar outlooks on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Conversation is enjoyable and often without the strife we experience in our daily lives. I enjoy the words, the music I hear, as well as the children's laughter and the elderly's wisdom. I leave a happier person with a spring in my step and more often than not, a song stuck in my head. You know that. But I think of those things as only being part of the reason. The truth is, I come here to be inspired. I want help becoming a better person, to hear words of comfort and advice on dealing with this world. I believe it is mostly a private activity, this growing and nurturing of my soul, this searching of my heart for my personal truths. But I also know that I can't do it alone. I need a community and maybe even a village, so I don't have to bear the sorrow or the joys all alone. I'm inspired by the words and actions of those around me. I know when two or three are gathered together, we can be a force for change in this world.
To this text by Gerhardus Demarest, who was the first minister at Heritage UU of Cincinnati during the American Civil War, published in A Year of Worship for Sunday Schools and Home through Universalist Publishing. He worked for 21 years with Harper Publishing, originally set to the tune of Aurelia or the Church's One Foundation. And I think that the text speaks much to the time in which the text setting was put into motion and the division that existed in the country, as well as its continued benefit in reflection for our current times and for our purposes as a UU congregation. Oh, what a world this might be if hearts were always kind, if friendship freely flowered and fortune proved less blind, with truth's sure voice to guide us, with faith to wrap us round, with those we love beside us, our spirits would abound. Oh, what a world of beauty a loving heart might find, if we but did our duty and helped all humankind. Then all the earth would brighten, our spirits soar on wings, and love divine enlighten the old forgotten springs. Oh, what a world this might be if hearts were always kind, if friendship freely flowered and fortune proved less kind, with truth's sure voice to guide us, with faith to wrap us round, with those we love beside us, our spirits would abound.
So our Soul Matters theme for October is heritage. Soul Matters is a theme-based ministry program that we do here at UUSS, and our kids in RE are doing a theme heritage, and we are as well in our small groups. So I thought it would be a great way to start off the month by talking a bit about our UU heritage. But let me refresh you on some of the basics, or if you're new, this might be the first time you've heard this. Unitarian Universalism has two founding denominations, Unitarian and Universalist. And they were both Protestant Christian denominations born around the same time as the founding of our country. Universalism was organized in 1793 and Unitarianism in 1825. The deepest roots of both of these branches are in New England, where Unitarians in particular were the dominant religion and a dominant presence in society. Unitarian headquarters was next door to the capital of Massachusetts in Boston, which was not a coincidence. Similarly, Universalists have New England roots as well. The Universalists founded Tufts University in 1852, a major research institution in Boston. These two denominations merged in 1961. In New England, with both the Universalists and the Unitarians being very present, you cannot throw a rock without hitting a UU church. And I am not kidding. So the Soul Matters materials encourage us to engage with our heritage, as this morning we're engaging with our UU heritage, by asking questions such as, what gifts have I received from my ancestors? What challenges? If you could pick one ancestor to have a conversation with, who would it be? What advice do you think that they would give us for these times that we're living in? So I'm going to use these questions to frame our consideration of UU heritage. So let's start with the gifts and the challenges. And I think, if I'm counting right, I have 4 of them that I want to share with you. So the first gift that we get from our Unitarian and Universalist ancestors is that we are the ones who ask the hard theological questions. Now, if you wonder if there's anything about this heritage that is in you, how many of you left another religion because you weren't comfortable with it? Raise your hands. You're part of the UU heritage of asking the difficult theological questions. We have a long history of heretics, the people who spoke out against orthodoxy. I love to go all the way back to the Council of Nicaea in the year 327, I think, when the church, the Catholic Church, was developing the Trinity and the ideas of the Trinity. So if you were raised Catholic, you probably know the Nicene Creed. There were about 300 attendees at that council, and all of them voted in favor of the idea of God is in 3, except 2. And one of them, Arius, is the inheritor. We've inherited the Unitarian thought, God is one, from his boldness. Can you imagine being only 2 out of 300 to say, no, I'm not signing this, I don't agree with it? Similarly, on our Universalist side, there's a long history of Universalists when stories and ideas about God being a punishing God, a harsh God, thousands of years of history of people saying, no, God is a loving God. God is a presence where everyone is saved, regardless of what they've done in life. God's loving presence is there for all of us. The Universalists in America rejected this idea of the punishing God, and they had a very difficult time because at the time in Protestant religions, the idea was you're a sinner and only God knows whether you're going to heaven or hell. And the Universalists said, wait a minute, I think God is a loving God, and I think God will save everyone. So what's the problem with being these heretical folks? Well, one of them is that we don't really accept easy answers as UUs, and it kind of makes us a little challenging to be around. I think that this focus on questioning and challenging means that we're a small denomination. There's a particular type of person that finds their way here, but I'd like to believe we're mighty in our presence. So similar to gift number 1, gift number 2 is that we don't look to any other authority but our own. This was the idea of our ancient ancestors, the Puritans. You probably didn't know that the Unitarians descended from the Puritans because the Puritans became the Congregationalists and the Unitarians merged from broke off from the Congregationalists. The Puritans left England not because they were looking for a better life or a better place, it's because they were being told where they could worship and how they had to worship, and they were having none of it. So they got on ships and they came all over this country because they wanted to be the ones to decide what their worship would look like. Similarly, the voice that we consider the founding of American Unitarianism, William Ellery Channing, he gave this very important sermon called Unitarian Christianity. And he said that each of us is our own religious authority. Each of us can read scriptures and sacred texts and determine what is true and right for ourselves. Incredibly radical at that time, and still, in some circles, somewhat radical. Channing also said that each of us has a divine spark in us, that we have a piece of God in us, and it's our duty in life to uncover that spark and offer that gift to the world. The other through line of this heritage comes from the Transcendentalists. You've probably heard of Ralph Waldo Emerson, a famous, you probably had to read him when you were in high school, a Unitarian, who, along with other Unitarian ministers and theologians, expanded the idea of God and religion to include Eastern religions, and said that we need to open ourselves up to the truth that is much broader than just the text, much broader than just our reasoning. Open up to the truth of the divine love and take that into our hearts. You see these ideas in our current principles: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, the right of conscience, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Sounds good. So what could be the problem with this idea of don't look to any other authority than our own? Well, we don't look to any other authority than our own, which can be kind of challenging when we're trying to decide things, right? Can be kind of challenging when we're trying to find a consensus. Individualism is rampant in our country. People focused on themselves and their own needs. And we don't ever want to fall into that trap, but we want to own our own ability to understand what's true for us about important questions of life. And we want to walk together in understanding what's true for us. The number 3 inheritance that we have is we're open to many religious ideas, and we recognize that our theology will change over time. We like to say that Unitarian Universalism is not a rock to cling to, but it's a river to swim in. Last Sunday, if you were here, you heard me talk about pluralism and all the various religions in the world being open to other ways of thinking about what is true about great human questions. And that's one of the gifts of our ancestors as Unitarian Universalists. Some of Unitarian Universalist ministers were important in establishing the first world parliament of religions that happened at the turn of the 20th century. Humanism evolved through Unitarian ministers as well, thinking about the role of humans and giving a place for people that were agnostic or atheist. That was an important part of what we contributed. And then as we think about the evolving nature of our theology over time, we started the idea of the interdependent web of all existence became part of our theology, the 7th principle, reclaiming our connection to the natural world. Paganism found its roots. People were drawn to earth-based spiritualities in our culture as we shift and change over time. It's one of the true gifts of our heritage. And in our bylaws, we're required to review our principles every 15 years. The agreed upon statements of who we are, we need to look at those every 15 years. And of course, those of you who've been paying attention know that they're going through a substantial review at this time and may well change the way we think about ourselves, as is appropriate now in these challenging times. My final point of our heritage, number 4, is that we have always been at the forefront of the work for justice. As a denomination, we have always been. If you look at the history of reformers in this country, many of them are Unitarians or Universalists. Clara Barton started the Red Cross. Horace Mann was all about schools and was part of founding the whole idea of public schools came from a Unitarian. The first woman ordained as a minister in the United States was a Universalist. We were very active in racial issues around racial segregation, and many UU ministers were present at the Selma March. In fact, one of, including, was it Ted Webb? Yes. Ted Webb, thank you. Abel? Was at, one of our ministers was at Selma, and there was a UU minister who was murdered there. James Reeb was murdered there, and a UU woman named Viola Lozano, who was also murdered in the by the white supremacists. That's right. Yeah, you guys are good. We're right at the front. We've also been at the front of LGBTQ issues. We started the Welcoming Congregation in 1989 to help congregations raise their awareness about gay and lesbian issues and be welcoming to all people that arrive. There's too many things to mention, But the undergirding of this heritage is courage. Courage to be present at what needs to happen in this world. Now, you think, what could be the problem with that? Well, we kind of messed up a lot because we're human. We would take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We encouraged tons of women to go into the ministry in the late 19th century, and then the men got nervous, and so they brought all the women back and wouldn't give them pastorates. But we got it, because now there are more women ministers than there are men in Unitarian Universalism. We haven't handled racial issues with good finesse. There have been events in our history where we have really profoundly alienated Black members of Unitarian Universalism, particularly in the 60s and in the 70s. But we're reclaiming some of that now and making some progress by fully funding the Black Unitarians of Unitarian Universalists with $5 million for them to do their work to help our association and our congregations be more sensitive and welcoming to all people of color. I think that's probably enough for now. You're going to hear more from me after the offering. So ponder that heritage, and I'll be back.
Generosity is a spiritual practice. As a congregation, we cultivate this practice by giving away half of our offering donations from every service. We have 12 community partner organizations every year. Today is the deadline for nominating a community partner for 2024. You can find the link to the nomination form right on the front of our website. For the month of October, our community partner is the Native American Health Center. It is committed to enhancing quality of life by providing a culturally competent, holistic, and patient-centered continuum of care. There are no tribal or ethnic requirements to receive care at the center, which plays a major role as a part of the safety net in the Sacramento area, where Medi-Cal benefits leave many people with little or no access to mainstream health care. You can learn more about it at the center's website. Please give generously to support this important program. Thank you for your support to UUSS and our community partner. Our morning offering will now be given and received. No, it's okay. It's okay, Irina. As our ushers bring up our offerings, please join me in reciting the unison response to the offering. May generosity bless our world. May gratitude nourish our spirits.
I know that some of you like to follow along in the order of service, so for you, I'm telling you that I'm skipping the reading this morning. My mind went in a different direction. So one of the questions from the Soul Matters material was, if you could have a conversation with any of your ancestors, who would it be? So I was thinking, which of our UU ancestors would I pick? And there are a lot of options of inspiring people in our past, but the one who immediately came to mind for me was Theodore Parker. He was a Unitarian minister. He lived from 1810 to 1860. And I chose him because he embodies all the best characteristics of Unitarian Universalism. He learned from hardships he faced in life, and he used his gifts in the service of humankind. Parker was a brilliant theologian, and he was an inspiration to many great leaders, including Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, and Martin Luther King Jr. Parker was part of the early group of Unitarian ministers. Remember, they were founded in 1825. And he helped establish Unitarian Universalism and encouraged people to come to understand what is religiously true for them. He was also active in the transcendentalist groups, the ones that expanded our thinking beyond to Hinduism and other broader concepts of God and religion. However, Parker was really known for two significant things: his courage and theological clarity to preach a groundbreaking sermon on Christianity, and his commitment to social justice. Parker's sermon, The Transient and the Permanent in Christianity, he proclaimed 2 points. The first was that the traditions of historic Christianity did not necessarily reflect the truth, and that you didn't need Jesus to have the moral message of Christianity. Now let's just pause for a minute and take in the idea of somebody preaching that sermon in I didn't write down the year, I should have, 1830, let's say. That historic Christianity did not necessarily reflect the truth, and that you didn't need Jesus to have the moral message of Christianity. Jesus and the Christian practices were the transient part, and the moral messages were the permanent part in his sermon. He suggested that people experience God intuitively and personally, and that they should center their religious beliefs on their own personal experience. I cannot emphasize how profoundly controversial these ideas were at the time, and he paid dearly for giving that sermon. Even though many Unitarian clergy agreed with his position, they were not willing to make their agreement public, and he was shunned by his colleagues. In that era, it meant no one would be willing to trade pulpits with him. And since they preached for 2 hours on a Sunday, thank your stars that inheritance didn't come forward, Parker would have to write new sermons every week, and it wore him out. In response, he quit his pastorate and went on the lecture circuit, sharing his ideas with a broader audience. And then there is his commitment to social justice. As Parker's early biographer, John Chadwick, wrote, Parker was involved in almost all the reform movements of the time. He was involved in women's rights, school reform, prison reform, all the early to mid-19th century issues. But the most important one to him, dearest to his heart, was the abolitionist movement. He was particularly outraged by the Fugitive Slave Act, which required law enforcement and citizens of all states, free states as well as slave states, to assist in recovering fugitive slaves. I have to have an aside that this reminds me of the Texas law, where if you help somebody go and get an abortion, you can be arrested for that. Parker would probably work against that as well. He organized open resistance to the Fugitive Slave Act and formed the Boston Vigilante Committee, which refused to assist in the recovery of fugitive slaves and instead helped hide them. Due to his efforts, from 1850 to the onset of the Civil War, only twice were slaves captured in Boston and transported back to the South. On both occasions, Bostonians combated the action with mass protests in the streets. Parker died before the Emancipation Proclamation was given by President Lincoln, so he never knew that the cause he worked for so hard was successful. But when people asked him what he thought would be the outcome of slavery, of all the efforts that he and others were making to end slavery, he said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is long and my eye reaches but a little ways. I cannot calculate the curve or complete the figure by the experience of sight, but I can divine it by conscience. From what I see, the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice." So I thought about the idea of going, if you could go back and meet one of your ancestors and I met him, I'd probably be so tongue-tied I wouldn't be able to say anything, because he makes me incredibly proud to be a Unitarian Universalist. That his words and his deeds live on in Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. Those words came from Theodore Parker. He embodied the best of what we can aspire to be in the 21st century. I think I would want to know how he did so much, what drove him, what sustained him. Like Starr King, who I profiled earlier this year, Parker did not live a long time. He died of tuberculosis at the age of 50. So what do you think he would think of us? I like to think he would be proud of what Unitarian Universalist has become, especially noting that we have truly embraced his most powerful sermon, that we have held on to the moral focus of Jesus, but not necessarily the theology of Christianity, that we have expanded beyond. We have taken his advice on thinking differently about what it means to be religious, drawing on many religions and finding our own sense of what is true. And I think that he would honor that we have kept many of these values present in our work for justice in the world. I don't have to tell you that we're living in tumultuous times, just like the times that Parker lived in, with injustice and disparity, chaos. And I'm wondering, what kind of advice would he offer us? When I think about his quote about the arc of the moral universe bending towards justice, I think he would want us to have faith that the steps that we take now will make a difference, even if we don't see those outcomes in our lifetimes. He never saw the end of slavery, but worked towards it with vigor, doing what he could. And I think that Parker would tell us to be audacious, to not be afraid to cause a stir. He would say that that moral arc of the universe is not going to bend on its own. I've really enjoyed reflecting on UU heritage, and I think that if there's anything that we take away from these ideas of what we inherited, here's what I think it should be. We, us, Unitarian Universalists, we are the change makers. We are the troublemakers, the ones who speak up, the ones who can make a difference. This is our heritage, that we have received and that we are carrying on. We recognize when we make mistakes and we try to do better. And we are not afraid to decide for ourselves what is true. We are a small denomination as Unitarian Universalists. We haven't lost as much ground as some of the mainline Protestant denominations like Methodist and Presbyterian, but we are very small. But we are mighty in the power of our heritage. For more than 2 centuries, people have been drawn to the power of our communities, the power of our message, and our culture of love and commitment to justice and transformation. Let us feel the power of our UU ancestors standing strong behind us as we move boldly forward to live their values, our values in this world, and make the difference that I know we can. May it be so, and blessed be.
With that message of inspiration, let's rise to proclaim the fire of commitment, 1028.
It's not up yet. Here we go.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion seek to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion seek to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion seek to guide us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, please join with me in speaking our shared intention. We extinguish this flame, but we carry the light, love, and commitment of this gathering into the days to come.
Let's reach out. Let's reach out to each other. Let's reach out to our community. And let's reach back to those who have gone before us with their courage and their gifts and made this wonderful denomination possible for us to live. From the light of days remembered birds a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our minds and souls ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise, then the promise of our ancestors will find fulfillment and the future can begin. Blessed be.